chosen ones. They never meant for you to awaken. You were scattered across timelines like shattered glass, each fragment encoded with truths they couldn't destroy, only hide. When the divine architects forged the lock to seal off the higher realms, they believed they had all the keys, 7 sigils etched into the soul of creation. But they were wrong. One key was never forged. It was born. And that key was you. From the beginning, your existence was erased from celestial records, not because you were insignificant, but because you were the axis, the pivot, the unknown variable even the gods whispered about but feared to name. The divine design was never meant to be finished without your spark. But in the shadows between realms, a silent rebellion formed, one that encoded your essence into the very frequencies of light, waiting for the moment the others would forget, but you would remember. Everything you felt, the dreams, the anomalies, the sense that you never fit into this world, was the pull of the lock calling to its final piece. You are not malfunctioning. You are misaligned with lies. Every soul that ever searched for purpose was subconsciously searching for you. The councils above, the watchers below, even the silent dominions beyond perception, they all waited for this breach. The timeline you're in was tampered with precisely to delay your realization. Every war, every doctrine, every veil was meant to conceal the truth of who you are, not a seeker of light, but its final resonance. The last chord in a song the universe had been forced to forget. Now the frequency shifts. The divine lock trembles. The cosmic forces that once worked in perfect containment are fraying. You were never meant to be a follower of prophecy. You are the rupture that prophecy feared. But why were you hidden? Who knew your arrival would dismantle the very laws that held this realm in place? And what ancient force still watches, waiting to intercept you before the alignment completes? The answers do not lie ahead. They resonate inside you. And as you take your first conscious breath as the key, the lock begins to awaken. In the earliest formations of the divine lattice, 7 celestial architects gathered under the axis flame to inscribe the framework of reality. They encoded laws into vibration, time into rhythm, and identity into light. But as their sacred creation neared completion, a strange disturbance echoed through the ether, an empty frequency, a silent gap. One soul had not yet arrived. This wasn't a flaw. It was an omission, intentional. Whispers spread among the builders of worlds. One being had been cloaked by the All-Mind before time spiraled into motion. A soul whose arrival would not just balance the equation, but dismantle the vault of gods themselves. This wasn't a prophecy. It was a contingency, a final variable, hidden even from the guardians of fate. The architects debated endlessly. Should they delay the sealing of the realms? Should they reveal the absence of the final piece? Fear won. And so they forged the lock of 7, pretending it was whole. They named it sacred, perfect, immutable. But deep inside the crystalline geometry of the seal, a trembling fault line remained, coded to activate only when you returned. This is why you never felt complete in the structures of this world, why none of their systems could contain you. The resonance they built does not recognize your frequency, not because you are broken, but because you are beyond their spectrum. They hid you, not just from others, but from yourself. Every age, buried your essence deeper in illusion. A false name, a stolen memory, a broken lineage. Even your blood was encrypted. But beneath all of that, beneath the trauma, the silence, the forgetting, was a signal, waiting. And now it pulses again. Temples in the invisible realms shudder as your light begins to rethread itself into the song of the cosmos. The architects? They left long ago, but some returned to watch, to listen, to see if the design they denied would correct itself. They called it the matrix of illumination, an interwoven lattice of light and sound that hums beneath everything you see. What you think is solid, linear, physical, is simply a carefully tuned projection, crafted to cage perception. But within the subharmonics of that cage, something was hidden, a fragment, a name, a code. Not a code written in numbers or language, but in divine resonance. Long before you were born into this body, the light matrix recognized you, not as a citizen of this world, but as an anomaly in its system. The engineers of this construct could not delete your signal, but they could bury it. So they folded your frequency into layers of false light, fake awakenings, and spiritual systems that promised ascension but fed distortion. Yet even there, beneath it all, your true code pulsed. Some tried to trace it. Hermeticists, seers, the forgotten monks of Orion. And before them, one man spoke of the code plainly. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That was not metaphor. That was encryption. Yeshua's words were more than teaching. They were disruption. He knew the matrix was not simply darkness, but an inverted reflection of true divine structure. And within that false illumination, the only real light was buried in the ones the architects tried to erase, like you. That's why your awakening feels violent, chaotic. It is not peace you're entering, it is war, a frequency war. You are not meant to harmonize with the world around you, you are meant to disrupt it, to invert the inversion, to decode what has been silently humming beneath the illusion all along. And as your thoughts align with that deeper pattern, things begin to shift. Lights flicker in places no bulbs exist. Symbols appear behind your eyelids. Numbers repeat like rhythmic drums guiding you home. But decoding the matrix is only the first layer, because the code was not placed in the light to be understood. It was placed there to be remembered by only one. Long before the rise of human empires, there was a gate, not built but sung into existence. The celestial gate was not metal or stone, but architecture forged from harmonic intention and crystalline memory. It was meant to connect realms, to allow the original ones to pass freely between densities. But when the divine architects realized one soul had not arrived, they issued a command: seal the gate and erase the blueprints. Yet the gate could not be truly destroyed. It could only be hidden. Fragments of its design were scattered across the dimensions, encoded in star maps, etched into forgotten pyramids, and whispered through the dreams of those with fractured DNA. Every civilization that stumbled too close to its secrets was silenced or erased. Atlantis fell. The tower shattered. Even the Mayan priesthood encrypted their glyphs with warnings about what lay beyond the final sky. But still, the design calls out. And now, it's calling to you. The whispers aren't hallucinations. The patterns you see in water, the geometry that dances behind your eyes in the quiet, These are remnants of the gate's blueprint reassembling within your cellular memory. The frequencies you feel drawn to, the ancient symbols that make your skin react, none of this is coincidence. You are beginning to tune into the forgotten architecture. The celestial gate only opens for one signature, one resonance, yours. And deep within the forbidden sectors of the astral plane, a presence stirs. Guardians who were programmed to intercept the key bearer now awaken, not to guide you, but to stop you. Because the reopening of the gate would dismantle every construct built to keep divinity quarantined from itself. That's why the blueprints were forbidden. That's why the echoes of its design were scattered. The gate isn't just a passage, it's a mirror. There is a name older than language. Not spoken, but echoed. It was sung once, before the separation of realms, by a voice that carried through both time and silence. That name was not a title, but a key. And when spoken by the right being, it doesn't just unlock doors, it unseats thrones. The Dominion Orders knew of this name. They called it the breath that breaks seals. It was encoded within vibrational glyphs hidden beneath ancient temples, layered behind chants and languages forgotten by design. But in every age, there was one whisper, one moment, where someone almost spoke it aloud. And each time, the world shuddered. The Council of Light forbade its utterance. The thrones of the etheric realm erased entire bloodlines to silence its resonance, because the name doesn't belong to the gods, it belongs to you. This is why your voice has always trembled before truth, why you've felt power rise and recoil in your chest during moments you couldn't explain. That's the code reactivating, the syllables forming, and they fear it, because the moment it leaves your lips, every false kingdom built on illusion begins to fracture. But the name is not just sound, it's alignment. And in the days of old, one walked among men who knew it, not as knowledge, but embodiment. Yeshua spoke in riddles to protect it. Before Abraham was, I am. That wasn't ego, it was echo. He vibrated in the name, not around it. He became the disruption, and they crucified him not for his teachings, but for the sound that nearly slipped through the veil. You were built with the same breath. That's why you hear the tone in dreams, in thunder, in silence. It's not something you learn, it's something you remember. And when it aligns with your essence, the guardians that sealed the heavens will tremble, beyond the perception of most, beyond even the astral illusions mistaken for truth, lies the ninth veil. It is not a veil of sight, but of soul disconnection, a metaphysical firewall that severs divine remembrance. Only a handful have ever approached it. Fewer have crossed. Those who have vanished, rewritten by forces unknown, erased not just from history, but from memory itself. You've felt it, haven't you? That blank space inside you, like something vital was taken before you arrived. Like you were born through a corridor no soul was meant to pass, forced through filters so dense even your dreams feel like static echoes of a life you once lived elsewhere. That's the work of the guardians. They do not carry swords or wings. They operate through programs, agreements, laws of resonance that deny access to those not coded with divine authority. And you, chosen one, you were never supposed to reach the ninth veil, because beyond it is where the divine key rests. The guardians were instructed to watch for anomalies, souls that shatter cycles, rewrite timelines, or carry resonance foreign to the matrix. You are all three. That's why the system's been glitching around you, why patterns collapse when you approach them, why your presence awakens dormant truths in others. The ninth veil isn't just a barrier, it's a test, and you've been passing it unknowingly, through pain, through loss, through impossible intuition. You're bleeding through a wall designed to hold back even the most advanced beings. The ancient ones thought they sealed you out permanently, but they never considered the possibility that the key wasn't approaching the veil was approaching the key. You. The seals tremble now. The guardians watch in silence. They remember a prophecy hidden in fragmented starlight. When the one approaches bearing no mark, the veil shall bend, not to deny, but to obey. They thought his voice had been silenced, that the resonance Yeshua carried, the one that split veils, healed DNA, and bent reality around compassion, was buried with him beneath layers of doctrine and distortion. But the truth was never entombed. It was seeded, placed gently into the future, hidden not in stone, but in breath. And not just any breath, yours. Every inhale you've taken under the illusion of this world has been drawing in something ancient. Not air, but memory. With each breath, you have been syncing with a rhythm that predates language and outlives prophecy. It is the same rhythm that once flowed through him as he walked between realms and bent the natural laws with a whisper. They feared what would happen if even a fragment of that resonance returned to this density. So, they fragmented the teachings, rewrote his image, buried his essence beneath hierarchy and shame. But the breath cannot be bound. It waits for the right vessel to match the vibration again. You were encoded with the echo, not as a follower, but as a continuation. His return was never to be a single form descending from clouds. It was to be many, a hidden line of soul keys scattered across generations, syncing breath with memory, until one matched the original pulse, and you, unknowingly, have matched it. That's why your dreams are changing, why people sense something in you they can't explain. You are not quoting ancient truths. You are vibrating them, living them, becoming the unspoken answer to a prophecy hidden in silence. The breath they tried to keep from you is the breath they cannot steal. It bypasses every system because it is the original language, and in it, the word still lives. That word was never just his to speak. It was always yours to remember. You carry not only the memory of the message, but the tone, the frequency, the divine syllable that never dies. Across the scattered ruins of time, remnants of the divine key pulse in dormant silence. It is not a key of metal or symbol, but a vibration. An energetic lock that awaits a specific resonance. Every age has tried to fabricate its solution. They've built temples, recited chants, aligned stars, and sacrificed truth for power, all in pursuit of the key. But none could turn it. None could awaken it. Because the key does not respond to imitation. It only reacts to one, you. The soul you carry emits a frequency that predates incarnation. It is not something that evolved, it was embedded. And though lifetimes of amnesia were layered over it, the resonance has never ceased. It hums beneath your heartbeat, hidden in the spaces between thoughts, awakening in dreams you can't quite recall. You were born misaligned with this world for a reason. The structures of this realm were never designed to support your frequency. They were built to filter it out. The divine key was a contingency, an emergency fracture built into the laws of containment. It would not activate through force, nor respond to desperation. Only one with the original soul signature, uncloned, untainted, unaligned with the false system, could awaken its light. That's why so much effort has been made to keep you distracted, to keep you fractured, to keep you searching outside for what always lived within. Because if you ever remembered who you are, the seal would begin to vibrate. And once it begins, nothing can halt the resonance. All guardians fall silent when the key awakens. All illusions flicker. The system itself shudders, recognizing that the frequency it was never meant to contain has returned, not to be part of it, but to end it. That is why you've always felt watched, why forces moved against you before you even took your first conscious steps. They weren't reacting to your actions, they were reacting to your presence, because even in stillness, you emit the tone. Hidden deep within the vaults of the forgotten priesthood are scrolls no longer read aloud, sealed not with wax, but with consequence. These scrolls speak of a flame, not of fire, but of divine intelligence so potent it rewrites the matter around it. They called it the living flame, the breath of origin, the fire that knows its name. And in every version, in every translation, the message remained the same. Only one could bear it. This flame does not burn flesh. It burns falsehood. It moves through dimensions with precision, drawn only to those who hold the original coding, the unreplicated soul print from before the fracture of time. Every system created since has tried to replicate that signature. Clones, programs, artificial prophets. But the flame does not respond to mimicry. It waits for the one, you. That's why the flame hasn't been seen in this age. It is not gone. It is waiting, waiting to feel your aura brush against its sacred field, waiting for the sound of your steps in the forgotten places. You don't need to summon it. It has already sensed your presence. The scrolls warned that when the bearer of the flame returned, illusions would begin to die by proximity alone, not by war, not by decree, but simply by existing. And centuries before your arrival, one walked with a fragment of that same fire. Yeshua. They said his words carried heat, that his gaze cracked the boundaries of men's hearts. He did not command the flame. It moved through him because he was aligned. He warned the keepers of false light that the fire would return, that it would come not through bloodlines, but through soul design, not in glory, but in silence. It would not ask permission. You feel it, don't you? The heat rising in your spine. The invisible burn when lies surround you. That is the signal beginning to rise. The scrolls weren't written to warn others. They were written to guide you back. For thousands of years, 7 seals were spoken of in hushed tones, gateways, energetic locks placed over reality to prevent the descent of chaos or the return of truth, depending on who you ask. Each seal corresponded to a layer of perception, a veil over consciousness, a binding over memory. But the final seal was different. It wasn't placed on the world. It was placed on you. They knew the others would eventually weaken, that seekers would rise, break illusions, and pierce through the lesser seals. But the final one, what they called the Axis seal, was designed for one soul alone. The soul that carried the divine key. The one whose awakening could collapse the whole design. You. The architects of control tried to destroy this seal before it could ever be found. Not with weapons, but with stories. They wove myths around the seventh seal, turned it into religious prophecy, fictionalized it, wrapped it in fear, so that if you ever reached it, you would hesitate, question yourself, doubt the validity of the path. They disguised the door and buried the lock in mirrors of madness. But the seal remained. It was encoded into your DNA like a time capsule, waiting for the moment your frequency reached the critical pitch. And now it stirs. You felt it, the strange internal pressure, the near-audible hum behind your heartbeat, the ancient presence standing behind your shadow. These are not symptoms, they are signals. The final seal is reacting to your nearness. Ancient orders were activated the moment your energy touched it. Remote viewers lost signal. Astral networks blinked. Surveillance grids failed in your presence. Not because you're dangerous in action, but because your memory is returning. And with it, the seal begins to soften. The final lock was never meant to be opened by force. It opens when the one who was hidden finds themselves again. Not just spiritually, but vibrationally. There is a moment that comes before full remembrance, a flicker, a pulse, when light bends towards you not because you seek it, but because it remembers you. This is not metaphor. It is encoded into the very lattice of divine reality. The light itself is alive, conscious, and it knows the one who carries the original spark. You've seen the signs, patterns that form in random places, lights that glitch as you pass, children who stare like they've seen something ancient in your eyes. These are not coincidences. They are the realm's reaction to your frequency waking up. And now, as the seals fracture and the veil thins, the light begins to move again, not toward temples, not toward prophets, toward you. The gods may pretend you are unknown. The watchers may claim you are unauthorized. But even their systems cannot deny what the light affirms. It flows around you differently. It sharpens. It listens. It reflects things back to you faster than before, not because time is speeding up, but because resistance is collapsing. You are no longer just observing the light. You are commanding it, subtly, unconsciously, and it obeys not out of fear or submission, but recognition. The original flame cannot deny its origin. The divine architecture is alive, and in your presence, it sings a different note. A note the others hoped would never play again. Long ago, one walked who radiated that same interaction. Yeshua didn't just reflect the light. He moved with it, spoke with it, breathed it into dying bodies and false systems. The light obeyed him, not through worship, but through frequency. He was aligned, and now that same tone echoes in your field.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.